Hello everyone. This is a sunny afternoon we're in beginning of the English spring. I wouldn't say summer, that's not technically true, but we have sunshine. And let's cut to the chase. Programming, inspiration, what are we all doing it for? So, I don't know about you, but I do programming for two reasons. One, because probably for the same reason that some people play chess, some people do Sudokus, and some people do crosswords, and some people play computer games. So that's one reason. The other reason is we do it to make money. So we can buy nice sneakers, we can buy drones, and we can get a sports car or whatever. So let's start and have a little think about how we maintain inspiration and enthusiasm when we've watched 100 tutorials and we're struggling, because that obviously everybody does. No matter how good you are, you're always going to, I believe it's called imposter syndrome. If you've not heard of imposter syndrome, look it up. So we're stood right by a famous type of English tree, an oak tree, and in some walks of life a tree is linked with learning, the learning tree. What do we want to learn? So if you're learning from Udemy, from YouTube, from a book, you're trying to get information into your brain that you can then reuse. Now, if you learn it thoroughly, it becomes second nature. And I was thinking, I have a friend who's learning to play piano, and the whole point of practicing on a piano is so that it becomes automatic. And similar with touch typing, I know she said she can touch type, and she can carry on typing while somebody's talking to her. She can look at the person whilst she's actually typing with her hands and hopefully not making too many typos. So we want programming and our thought processes to become second nature. And yeah, obviously one way that occurs is through repetition. But life's too short to repeat. I don't know if any of you have watched the intro to The Simpsons where Bart writes something on the blackboard 100 times. Life's too short to write something 100 times or type out a tutorial 100 times. So how can you get the benefits of repetition and not have to spend all of that time? Well, I think the best thing to do is follow a tutorial. First thing, watch it without typing, because that's a distraction and you're concentrating more on typing than you are on actually learning the concept. So my rule number one is to watch the tutorial and not attempt to type along to it, not attempt to write notes. Listen to what the person's saying, and yeah, your mind is going to wander. You're going to think other things to do with what they're saying, but really watch the video through once. No pen, no paper, no typing. Right, second time you watch it, skip to the important parts. Skip to the parts which cut to the chase. You don't want to be listening to them talking about what a nice day it is or how sunny it is. Skip to the bits where there is something crucial. So to be honest, in some videos, if they're done well, they will actually have chapter timings, and I know that's only YouTube, but even Udemy, you'll get chapters, and then they will put kind of I like the videos where I think it's Kaggle. So are any of you familiar with Kaggle? I'm ashamed to say I'm not that familiar with Kaggle, and in essence, it's a data science, not channel, it's a data science website produced by Google, and you can do machine learning, pandas, data analysis, data science. You can learn SQL, BigQuery, whatever. So yeah, Kaggle. One of the things I liked about that, and I've not really seen it used so widely before, was in their videos they have kind of for want of a programming terminology, they have a breakpoint, and watch the summary section there, and then just kind of focus on that. So yeah, second time you watch it, just pick out the good bits. It's like a film. If you watch a film, obviously you get the explosions and the car chases, which yeah, if you like that sort of thing, then that's the important part. But even if you're watching sport, you're watching a football game or a cricket game or even a car race, there's always one crucial part of that event. In a Formula 1 race, it's when there's a pit stop and then it takes 2 seconds longer because they couldn't get the tyre off. So it's always a crucial part, and the skill is to identify the important part and the crucial part. So yeah, for instance, in Python, the important part may be using a filter in pandas. So or machine learning, you may see a machine learning demo of linear regression, and there will be 10 lines on a simple decision tree demo or tutorial, and really the two crucial lines are where they create the model and where they do the model.fit. So the other bits, you have to kind of think, which bits will I absorb just through repetition without making a conscious effort to memorize, and which line is it that's really the important line that's actually doing. It's the old 80-20 thing that I alluded to in my last video. So 20% of what you do or what you learn gets you 80% of the benefit. So pick out, with any video, pick out the important 20%, and you can ignore the other 80%. So if this video is 10 minutes long, I'm fully expecting to only get 2 minutes of view time. If that happens, then I've done a good job. No, but seriously, if you want to make... I remember watching an interview with a famous sports person, and they said that it wasn't because they had a more natural ability than the other people. It's because they knew how to analyze their performance and how to focus on the bits that would get them the biggest improvement. And I'm sure many of you are unfamiliar with the gentleman's game of or gentle person's game of snooker, but the best player who's ever lived to play this game, he says that rather than walking around the table and practicing shots from all different angles, he just stands in one place, and a bit like how you would at golf, you just hit the ball from one place and then you never have to move. So he says in 1 hour he can do 500 shots, whereas other people walk around the table, he said, would only do 100. So it's all about, it's kind of like time and motion for your brain, if that makes sense. Now, I'm not really approaching this from any kind of academic background as such. I've not got a BSc in computer science or anything, so like many of you, I suspect, we're all trying to do the best we can with what's available to us. And I know from the past when I was attempting to, well, I succeeded, but when I was attempting to join the club that is Cisco network engineers, as an outsider, it's difficult to get into because their equipment is very expensive, their exams are expensive, and some of the course content was only really relevant if you were working on the latest equipment, and I believe that's even more so now. So what you want to do is you want to be very ruthless, and you want to assess what is it that I can learn, what is it I can get free of charge, i.e. so e.g. a YouTube tutorial. And whilst we're talking about YouTube tutorials, I just thought I'd share with you the tutorials that I'm currently watching, because it's it's always interesting to know what other people are watching. So in a professional capacity, what affects my freelance work is the things which I can pick up from channels such as Jie Jenn. So he does a lot of stuff with pandas, Python, SQL. Yeah, so that's one good channel, Jie Jenn, J-I-E space J-E-N-N. I'll put a link down below. The other one, which I really like, and I think I've mentioned it a couple of times, so apologies if it's getting boring, but Finxter, Christian Mayer, and his book Python Oneliners I think is brilliant, because you don't really want to be writing 5 lines of code if you can do it with 1. Admittedly, sometimes it's more understandable if you've got 5 lines, but especially certain things like lambda functions. His bits about NumPy have been brilliant, because I'm yet to actually use many of those, but obviously pandas is built on top of NumPy, and if you understand NumPy, you will understand how pandas works. And I just think it's invaluable really to have that in your armory, to know that you can for instance, there's a good one I did yesterday which was talking about if you had 3 weeks worth of readings from your, for instance, if you got a sensor attached to your computer and you got 3 weeks worth of readings, you got 21 readings, but every Sunday the readings are wrong because you have to take off the sensor and do something to it. So 21 readings, but every 7th reading is incorrect. So I mean, there's a brilliant one-liner which shows you how you can take the NumPy average and you can apply it to only the 7th, the 14th and the 21st value using slicing. So that's great. And knowing those sort of things, sometimes things like that are definitely worth memorizing. So yeah, I'm not saying 100 times on the blackboard, but I think especially with one-liners, that's the beauty of a one-liner, is you probably should or could be able to memorize it. And if you can memorize it, then it should become like doing up your shoelaces. And if you wear slip-ons, then shame on you, and you should know how to do up your shoelaces at least. So yeah, that's talking about learning. So we've talked about learning, we've talked about inspiration slightly. So what is your inspiration other than money? Well, as you know, I'm a big fan and acquaintance of Code Monkey King, and he's now doing his chess programming, and I think that's an amazing way to learn, is if you're programming a game, especially something like chess. I mean, not tic-tac-toe or hangman or connect 4, yeah, they're good, but I think chess will allow you to learn things which you otherwise would not encounter, especially if you want to go off and become fluent in another language. So yeah, let's just talk about knowing another language. So years and years ago, I started with Visual Basic, and the rival to Visual Basic at the time was Pascal Delphi, which was a rapid application development tool for Pascal. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with Pascal. Delphi actually was it was a disc that came free on the front of a magazine. So again, what do they call it? A barrier to entry. There's no barrier to entry with programming, so you've got no excuses. So yeah, Visual Basic or Delphi. So even then, I think I was realizing that there's usually more than one way to skin a cat, or more than one way to get the job done. And I'm having to eat a bit of humble pie at the moment, because I am actually realizing that there are situations where Selenium actually is just the best way and it gets the job done, compared to Scrapey or requests. And I'm not even going to attempt to learn Playwright or Puppeteer or life's too short. I can't learn everything. But if you look at any job adverts, which I'm not looking for a full-time office job right now, but just out of curiosity, if you do, you will see the main requirements, particularly in the UK, and I don't know if this applies to America or Asia or elsewhere. The main job requirements will be, often they will be Python and C. And if you know bits of C, or if you can write programs in C, then really it will help you a great deal when you come to writing in Python, because Python's obviously written with C, and when it comes to dealing with things like data types, anything to do with variables and declaring variables and passing by reference or passing by value, if you know C, you'll actually know a lot more about what's going on under the hood with Python. So again, I'm not a professional C programmer, but I learn C as and when I get a chance, or as and when I'm in the mood. And in the past, I know it's probably, I've not checked Stack Overflow recent surveys, but I suspect that PHP as a language rather than when it's used with a framework is probably not as popular as it once was. But yeah, after Visual Basic and Delphi, I used PHP for a while when I was tinkering with websites. In the early days, websites were, many of them were bespoke, and gradually WordPress crept in, and then was it Joomla? And obviously now it's Django and Laravel and other frameworks. So in the early days, PHP, there are many similarities between PHP and C, and syntax is kind of it's quite familiar. So yeah, C, if you learn Python, have a look at C. And I know even on I was looking yesterday at what's the new Raspberry Pi, the small one called, the really small one? The Pico? Yeah, the Pico. The Raspberry Pi Pico. You can program that with Python, but I'll come on to the speeds in a minute. So you can program it with Python, or you can program it with C. And it's probably now similar to Arduino in the fact that you can program it with C, and it's a microcontroller. It's the first microcontroller as opposed to microprocessor. I'm not going to go into the differences here, that's beyond what we want to cover. But if you're interested in writing code using C for embedded software, or you want something to practice on to give you some inspiration, then Raspberry Pi Pico, and you can practice with Python or C on that. So, and I think in the UK it costs about £3, something like that. So for the price of a cup of coffee, you could gain, again, going back to inspiration, you could gain a lot of inspiration, and from a £3 purchase, you may end up spending the next year of your life learning C. And if you want to do anything with software, that's probably time well spent, spending a year learning C. And don't get confused between C and C++. I think there's a school of thought that says you should learn C before you go off and start using classes and object-oriented with C. I first used C before I used C++, and the reason I used C was so that I could compile something which would talk to a relay board and turn on and off mains voltage, and that had to be written in C. And I ran it on a Linux PC, running Apache with a static IP address, and then you could remotely turn on and off the lights. And this was using, just to give you an idea of how long ago this was using Linux Mandrake, which you had Mandrake before Mandriva. So yeah, that's a while ago. And yeah, if you wanted, so I think to summarize, again, here we go. Here's the magic 20% of this video. So listen carefully. I should say this only once. Inspiration and the magic 20%. So if you want inspiration, if you feel like you're getting bored or you've kind of got in a rut, then don't spend all day on YouTube, but just find one new channel, maybe this one, and just almost pick their brains, if you can do that remotely, passively, I don't know. But hopefully from this, even if you ignore everything I've said, you'll go off and look at Finxter, Christian Mayer, PhD in data science, all that, and Caleb Curry, C-A-L-E-B. I'll put the links down below. So yeah, if nothing else, you've seen a bit of the sunshine, and you've heard me talk about Finxter, Caleb Curry, C, Raspberry Pi Pico, and inspiration and cutting to the chase. Pick out the important bits and follow it up with some repetition. So pick out the important bits, the magic 20%, and then do the repetition on that 20%. Don't do it on the 400. So I hope this has been inspirational, and I'll be back soon.